Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of War of the Rings StaffCast. I am your host, ManliestNerd. I am joined, as always, by my lovely co-host, Slayer.
Hey, what's up, guys?
And today we are joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Vinyarion.
What is up?
So, we get that we've been a little absent with all the recent bugs and stuff, but we have not been doing nothing. We have not been sitting idly by. We have been working on a, a number of projects that I know you all will love. And one of these, which Vin has been working on, we'd like to show to you today. So, Vin, take it away.
Okay, so this is the project I've been working on. It's been in the works privately by myself for about 3 years, and ever since I joined the War of the Rings team, I've updated things to 115.2, and this is far future stuff that we will hopefully use in future seasons. The name of this mod is Anduril, um, after the sword that was renewed. A play off of the Lord of the Rings name, the Lord of the Rings mod's new version, renewed. So this mod, Anduril, um, is aimed at supplying a high amount of on-the-fly customization, um, skills, RPG, magic systems, and a lot of client-side aesthetic features that will make playing War of the Rings and by extension any modded server a lot more fun and interesting. One of the simplest client aesthetic features is the addition of a cinematic camera. So if you press F6, you have a lot more. You have a cinematic camera that is sort of an over-the-shoulder view. If you sneak, you sort of turn visible,
Ooh.
and you can. So this means that you actually can see what you're looking at, as opposed to the vanilla one where, well, um, you can't really see what you're looking at. There's settings for this camera as well. So if you actually turn the speed down to 0, the camera will actually just stay put, and you could record yourself and make a video. And we'll probably use this in the future too, um, demonstrating something, and your player will just move around like normal. But yeah, it's very nice. Or if you turn it to just a very low number, like 3, it'll look a lot like you're in a movie. So we'll probably use something like this for trailers in the future.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Going up and down hills. It's slightly wonky to control, but you actually get used to it pretty fast.
I could already think of a few different trailers where we could film, going through longer passageways, maybe through the mines of Moria or through the halls of Thranduil. That's immediately the vibes that I'm getting.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. It also does try to detect like if the camera's gonna hit a wall, so you shouldn't like get weird X-ray or cave artifacts
Yep,
showing
so
up
you
on your
can't
screen.
use this to X-ray.
Exactly. Okay, cool.
Checkmate, cheaters.
Checkmate.
So the second, well, one of the other core components to this mod is the addition of dual wielding, and rather
Yes.
dual wielding attacks. So if you
Yes.
press R, this little bar comes up on your screen, and this actually indicates that you're able to attack with your offhand. So if we get some weapons from my chests here, I'll put one of them in my offhand, and the other one will be in my main hand. And if I press R, and if I right click, my offhand one will swing, and you'll see that there's an attack timer for that offhand item, and the attack timer for the offhand and main hand are separate. There's also a stamina system. So if you attack too frequently, and with heavier items, they take more stamina. You will eventually run out of stamina and do very little damage, and eventually you'll be unable to attack. So if right here I'm spam clicking, and it's only attacking about once every other second.
Mm.
So
So, what do you
depending
mean?
on what
Sorry, go ahead.
depending on what item you use, it'll have a different attack length. So if you use an axe, which is heavier in a sense, it will consume more of your stamina. So it'll be longer between spam attacks. You were asking?
I was literally just gonna ask which items are heavier, but you just answered that right there.
Yes. In addition to this system, um, I, with the customizability and on-the-fly mechanics additions, I have effectively turned data packs into plugins. So we can affect, and these will also affect things client side too. So I've actually only added, well, okay, I'll get to that in a second. So I've added several armor slots. So if we look at my inventory, we have our offhand slot here, we have our hotbar, but I've added 3 other slots. This slot is a cloak slot. It allows you to put things on your back, and they'll render there. Up here is gauntlets. Gauntlets protect your arms, because I've actually added model-based attacks and hitboxes. So if we look at my
Oh.
hitbox, you will see that there are these weird red and green boxes surrounding my player. This is a great use of this. So, if you look carefully, they're actually conforming very closely to the player model. And when you attack other players or NPCs, you will actually only hit them if you're looking at this box that is rotated. So if you hit somebody's head, it'll actually calculate the damage depending on what helmet they're wearing, and if you hit their body, what chest plate they're wearing. If you hit their arms, what gauntlets they're wearing. So this is why I've had to add a new armor piece, the gauntlets, because the arms are rather prominent on the player model. In addition to just the model boxes being there, they'll also render items aesthetically. First, let's take a look at what the gauntlets look like on the player model. So the gauntlets are sort of just like the bottom half of the chest plate. It goes around your wrist.
I
But
see.
there's also this scabbard item, which renders at your side, right here. And if you have a sword in your hotbar that you are currently not holding, it will actually render inside inside that slot. So if you see here, you can see the handles of the wooden sword in the slot. It picks whatever item is leftmost in your hotbar. So now you can see the slight blue tints of the handles for my diamond sword. So this is an aesthetic feature that you can use to show off what weapons you're wielding currently, and it'll add a lot more to the role play and immersion.
Exactly. You can't enter my town with your weapons drawn or something, and maybe surrounding villagers notice that if you have it out.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. You got a license for that sword there, buddy?
How many rounds that thing hold these days?
Then we have the cloak item, which is like a cape, except it has much more fluid physics.
Ooh, I like
So
that a lot.
it's actually uh, the physics is based on like points and lines and well, it's a point and stick system. If any of you if any of you are familiar with that, so this actually is dyeable because this is a leather cloak. So if I take a dye like I don't know, let's say red dye, and I go into the crafting, I can dye the cloak. Unfortunately, the item doesn't render dyed currently, but it will render on my back as red now. So you can dye these and customize them. Perhaps in the future, I will add the ability to add custom banner patterns to your cloak, so you will be able to show off what faction you are from this kind of thing. There is also, in addition to that, shield rendering. So whatever shield is in your hotbar, if it's on your hotbar and you're currently not holding it, it will render on your back. And when you sneak, it'll it'll angle backwards a little bit like that. So if you want to do custom banner patterns, you can put a banner on the vanilla shield with the vanilla mechanics, and it'll render on the back properly. So you could show off your faction and that kind of thing currently with that mechanic. So that's mostly it for the aesthetic items. Then we have the custom crafting systems and magic systems and skill systems. So for crafting, um, the crafting table will work fine and all, but it's it's now viewed as sort of like unskilled crafting. So if I, for example, make an iron axe, you see it has minus 28% durability. So this is rather crafted hastily. Thinking like if you think about it, just putting some iron ingots into a crafting table and out pops an axe is sort of like, whoa, that's a lot of cold welds there, or whatever you did to make that axe head out of 3 cold iron ingots. So with this new crafting system, you have to insert ingot items into a metal forge, and it'll heat them up. If you want to tell what temperature it's at, you can put a forging thermometer item, and then when you look at it, it'll tell you how hot it is. So these are slowly heating up. Then when you have the ingots heated up, you will take the forging tongs item, and you will transfer them out of the forge and onto this anvil. And then you will put the other ingredients for an axe. It'll be sticks here. And then you would take a blacksmithing hammer, this item here, and you will left click this several times. If the ingot's hot enough, it'll tell you how far you've progressed in the recipe. Um, if you have the correct recipe and heat, otherwise it'll tell you what's wrong. Either you have the wrong items or that kind of thing. Also, if you have to have the recipe unlocked. I've unlocked all the recipes here, but if you obtain this smithing recipe book item, it'll show you the list of all the recipes you've unlocked for smithing currently. You'll be able to select which recipe you intend to make at this time, which allows in the future several faction crafting recipes to require the same items. But if you learn them separately, then you'll be able to select them individually. And for example, Rohan swords and Gondor swords will have the exact same items as input, but they will actually have different items come out of them depending on what you have selected here. So you'll left click with your blacksmith's hammer, and that will it'll take perhaps 20 clicks or so to fully craft the item. And once you have that, it won't have any durability losses. There's also the potential for weapons in particular to have damage percent losses if you craft the item in just the crafting table. So there will be plans in the future to add more attributes and that kind of thing to this system. So so smithing an item, going through the long process, investing time into your weapon will have a lot more significance and will be a lot more beneficial. Also on weapons, if you see here, I have implemented weapon attunement. So if you use a single weapon enough by doing about like 2,000 or 3,000 damage with it, you will become attuned to that weapon, and you will do about 1.25 times damage as normal with that weapon. The more attuned you are with, the closer to attunement you are with the weapon, the more damage you'll do, all the way to 1.25. So here I'm 38% attuned, so I do slightly more than base damage. Attuning the weapon will have effects greater than just simply doing a little more damage. You'll be able to use combat skills and that sort of thing with um, the uh, with this system. So if you go and well, if you enter attack mode, so pressing R, the crosshair and little red bar will appear. If you're holding a sword, for example, and then you sneak and click the attack button for your respective hand, so for my offhand, for my main hand, I'll left click. For my offhand, I would right click. It'll bring up this menu. Well, I'm going to have a much nicer texture for it, but I'm still holding the attack button, and I have the option to use a skill here up here. Um, by using this skill, I activate it, and then it remains like in activation for a little bit. Also, um, you do have the option to move and turn your and turn your vision a little bit while you're in this mode. So you can use this quickly in combat. When you let go, it activates the skill, and then when you next attack something, it'll use the skill. The skill Stunning Flat inflicts a new effect called Confusion on on an entity. With players in particular, the confusion effect will actually make them randomly start moving in directions they don't want to. So if you're going forward, you'll actually start walking backwards. If you're moving right, you'll actually start moving left, that kind of thing. It'll happen unpredictably and randomly. So it will indeed be confusing. Um, then we have the magic system. With this magic system, you get access to magical spell words as you experience the world around you. So if you get blown up enough by creepers or TNT, you'll actually learn the explode spell word. So you will be able to summon an explosion. Spells are cast in a very similar way to skills being used, and in fact, you can actually cast a spell and use a skill in the exact same menu. So if I want to write a spell, every spell has a name. So this example spell here will have the name explode. If I want it to explode, well then I use the spell word explode. And then I enter attack mode, shift, attack, and then I hover and release this. And voila, an explosion has been summoned. There's also a lot of words that dictate exactly how an explosion will be summoned, because you might not want to summon an explosion right where you are. So by changing the context of the explode spell, you will actually be able to control um, how it is used. So another word is the projectile word. So in the projectile word, we actually explode. There's several things a projectile can do. So here, we want it to explode on impact. So casting this spell will take a longer time because there's more words and I've used more mana. So here's the projectile. You actually, well, it by default it actually just stays where it is because, well, you didn't tell it the projectile to move anywhere, and it timed out unfortunately because, well, they can't exist forever. So if I punch this projectile and with the right words, you'll be able to make it just start moving in the direction you're looking. If I punch this, okay, that shouldn't be happening. Great.
Did you hit it so fast?
When it hits something, it actually does explode. I don't know why it was doing that jerky thing, but
It only breaks during presentation, man. That's the
yeah.
rule.
I was gonna say when you were writing the spell words, it kind of looks like you were writing some like Java like right there.
Yeah. Well, I'm a programmer, so
Yeah, I'm learning.
So let's use it. So let's use a different thing to make things explode. So let's make all these pigs explode. So in order to execute a spell as these pigs, we'll need to see like we don't know exactly how these pigs are in relation to our current position. So we'll use the area word. And inside this area word, if we just explode, it'll still just explode where we are. So we need to chain the spell effect off of the pigs. And then we can do the explode.
Blow 'em sky high.
So again, this costs a lot of mana, so it will take a long time. But you can see that it caused an explosion right where that
You
pig
shall
is.
not pig. Yeah.
Yep. So it does work. I guess the projectile is a little broken, and I'll definitely have to fix that as soon as possible. But with these different words, you actually you gain access to them as you progress and experience things in the world. Like I said, if you once you get exploded enough, you'll
So remember,
learn
kids,
the word.
beat your friends enough, and they'll be able to do magic.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's a bunch of other words. There's also the system of commands.
No, only few word.
There's a system of commands that can give and take spells, give and take skills, and another part of the spell system, spirits. So spirits allow you to automate things and do things from really long distances more effectively. They effectively like follow players or entities that you tell them to follow with your spell. So if we go to the spells and select myself, I can give myself everything with this command, and now I know all the spell words. Or
Ow,
if
the
I
spell
list
words.
the spell words, there's about 20 or 25 words here, and they all can interact with each other, and it's just a very fun time playing with them. There's a lot more to the magic system that I'll update you all on over time because, well, I don't want to give away too much at once. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fun, like playing it and exploring all the possibilities yourself.
Yep, so you gotta play the game.
Exactly.
Oh, I can't wait for someone to figure out how to do something along the lines of using the chain spell to surround the pigs with other explosive spells that just sitting there, and then they make the pigs explode, which make all of those orbs fly off everywhere, and then those explode. Oh, I can't wait.
Oh my
Can't
god.
wait.
Yes,
Can't wait.
please. Please.
If you honestly wanted to like cause an insane amount of destruction at once, explode actually has a subword in it. Explode actually has
Oh
a
no.
subword in it.
Oh
Strength.
no.
So
Oh
if
no.
I give the
Oh
explosion
no.
a strength of 20, so if I give the explosion a strength of it might be too much mana to cast. It might be too much mana to cast. That needs 2,000 or so mana. That needs 2,000 or so mana. Two? If I lower it by, I think the default value, by the way, is 3. 18. The default value, by the way, this pig is in the right area. Okay, so I need to make sure this pig is in the right area. What?
How does
Again,
it
it's taking a
scale?
long time to cast. What?
How does it scale?
I believe it scales
How does it
linearly.
scale?
Oh,
I
that's
believe it
3 to
scales
15.
linearly.
Wow.
Oh, that's
So you saw it took a lot more mana to cast a more powerful spell. So you saw it took a lot more mana to cast a more powerful spell. This I believe is a lot more realistic and will allow people to tune their spells to their needs. And will allow, there are spell words to heal things, hurt things, set them on fire, teleport things, give things effects, swap mana between players. So it's all very open to strategy and crafting your own spell. I don't have a lot of world interaction yet, like placing or breaking blocks, other than this explosion. So I think I'll add some like place or break block kind of spells shortly.
so there
That's
are
most
more
that's
spell words planning to be added.
most definitely, and also that again, I don't want to reveal things too fast, but there's a whole nother system behind the magic that you can use. That if you know how to use it properly, you'll be able to make the same spell words do different things. So that's mostly it for the magic system. So the other thing is for customizability and on-the-fly updates. With this system, I've actually only added one piece of armor for gauntlets, and one piece of armor for helmets and things. So as a test set, I have silver armor, which has all of its own items and things. But I've also added an armor piece for each of the vanilla sets. That makes sense. So I have a pair of diamond gauntlets, iron, golden, chain, which is I definitely don't have in the language file properly, and leather. So if you notice, these are all Anduril gauntlets item at the bottom in the hover text. So it's all differentiated with NBT, and the textures are actually loaded from your resources whenever you join a server. The server actually tells you what armor sets exist, and thus where to find all the textures and create all the models. And it'll do this automatically. So each server could actually add different sets of armor, and have like their own faction, like different add faction armor without actually adding items that would make it incompatible for clients. So again, compatibility wise, this mod aims to unify the idea of making submod after submod and just have one submod where you can join any Lord of the Rings server with this, as long as you have this mod and the Lord of the Rings, and you'll be able to use all the custom things.
So,
There's
for
also
example, if I were to propose a use case and not get anyone's hopes up, we mentioned that this would be later seasons. This would be season 4 at the earliest, but more aimed towards maybe season 5. But what Vin is trying to maybe showcase is that, let's say you're feeling in the mood to go play the third age. What about the first age? And I'm sure in the future, with the Amazon show coming out and highlighting the second age, that's going to be all the rage. And so, Vin, are you trying to say that we would be able to, on the fly, go from those different ages, those different settings with those different rules and armor and spells?
you would. There's all configuration. There's configuration files if you want to enable or disable specific spell words on the server. There's commands to grant access to spell words and revoke access for specific players. And you do have to have the textures inside a texture pack, but server texture packs is a vanilla feature, so we would be able to use that in conjunction with this this custom item system to to effectively swap swap ages or swap themes even, just by switching out a texture pack and toggling a couple of configurations.
All right. Well, thank you for
I
giving us
love it.
this wonderful tour of your VinMod. I have to say I am
VinMod.
extremely excited.
Wait. What was the name again, Vin?
The name is Anduril, after
Anduril.
after the sword that was renewed.
Right, Luke Skywalker's lightsaber. Right.
Yeah.
Wolverine's claws. Harry Potter's wand. I got you. I'm kidding. No. Yeah. I
I thought you were Slayer.
get out of here. I'm done. No more puns. No more puns. But yes, thank you for joining us, and Vin, thank you for showing that off. And
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. For those that don't know, Vin has been a lot of the reinforcement for just getting code to simply work. Whenever there's an issue, whenever there's something we can't figure out, he's the person that we go to. So you might not see too many additions from him besides obviously his own stuff, which stands on its own 2 feet. But the reason why we can get things to work is because of some of the stuff he helps with. So it's integral for sure. But yeah, that's all I gotta say. Manly, back to you.
All right. So I think that's it for today. So again, Vin, thank you for the wonderful tour of your mod. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you next time.